Hi, Cloud. All right, Carmen, whenever you're ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Big Fish Sink or Swim podcast. What is this? Episode 4?
Episode 4, yeah.
It's getting to so many episodes we can't even count. But super, super excited. This is Big Fish Sink or Swim, a Black girls lineal podcast where we talk about anything and everything, and we journey through our adulthood in 20s, mid-20s, all of that fun stuff. And for this episode, we have a very, very special guest. I met her in high school. We also worked together at the Dance Institute of Washington. So really, a special person. I've been rooting for her from afar, and just like watching her go from like this girl that was just in a lot of stuff in high school to now like really doing stuff into adulthood. And I could sing off her praises, and I will a little bit, and then I'll let her introduce herself. Her name is Brianna Coleman. DC, Maryland native. Like I said, we went to high school together, went to school without walls. She got her associate's degree from the George Washington University at only 18 years old, went on to go to Towson to get her bachelor's, and she's also mastered and has several endeavors, businesses, nonprofits. She has a nonprofit called the Sister Project. She also is the CEO lead of BTB Digital, which she does like digital media and strategy and design, and then also has a podcast. And I'm sure I'm missing something else. But yeah, I mean, there's anything that she can do, anything that you can name, she can do. And like I said, she also dances. So, fun fact, she did a dance to Beyonce's Homecoming. What's the song called, Maya?
What song? Which one?
What is it, Brianna?
Before I Let Go.
Before I Let Go. And Miss Tina put it on her Instagram page. It made news, local news. And so, yeah, like I said, I could go on and on and on, but I will let Brianna introduce herself real quick, fill in all those gaps. And then we'll go into like a 30-second sink or swim. I kind of want to hear your opinion on one thing, and we'll dive right into this podcast. So yes, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Carmen, I'm just going to hire you to introduce me from now on. Like anytime I need to be introduced, it's going to be you, because that was awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, I'm Brianna Coleman. You all, I don't even know what to say. Like the introduction just did itself. One thing, I do currently work at the Howard University. So that's another thing that I do. So balancing entrepreneurship and also working a 9-to-5 is something that I am learning to do and figuring out as I go along. But I'm really excited to be here. As Carmen shared, I have my own podcast, but this is actually my first time as a guest. So it's different to be on the other side. So I'm excited to see how this goes.
And we're excited to have you. Like I'm so like stoked that this is your first time being a guest on a podcast. Like I'm excited to hear about all the endeavors that you get to ask other people about. I think this is going to be super fun.
All right, let's go. I'm ready.
Okay, sink or swim segment, Spotify or Apple. And so the point of this is whether it's a sink, you don't really, which one is a sink, you're not really rocking with it, which one's a swim. Apple Music or Spotify?
So I'm going Apple Music all the way. I'm not a Spotify girl. I'm not paying for multiple music streaming things. That's just not my cup of tea. I'm an Apple device, so like MacBook, iPad, iPhone, forever. So like I just gotta stay loyal to Apple, even though they just love to take my money. But I'm just that's just good. I gotta go with.
That is.
It's so hard finding Apple Music stands. I will say that.
Yeah,
Maya, Carmen, you're not an Apple Music.
I'm not. But Carmen, you like Apple Music.
Yes, but I also think it's because what Brianna said, like they kind of just had my coin first, and I'm
absolutely
interesting.
Going to go to Spotify if I'm already giving the money. Yeah. Well, that's good to know. So it is a sink for Spotify.
That is wild.
And a swim
for me, like Spotify, one, I was already paying for Spotify, so I just wasn't going to change. But like Spotify's marketing is just like 10 times better to me.
I don't disagree. I think they do a great job in marketing, and I think they have a lot of different features, but like you also have to have a separate app. Like my music app for Apple Music is already on my phone. It's already connected to all my devices. I don't got to sign in 50 million times. Like there's pros and cons.
I didn't even think about that. The accessibility. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
very good point. Wow.
Carmen, you want to jump in?
No, I didn't even think about that, but that's also a really good point. Okay, so the topic of this episode is Jack of all trades. And many people don't know the full quote, which is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So a lot of people keep it at like, oh, I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. But many people don't know that it's like good to have to be like a jack of all trades. And I do consider, Brianna, you a jack of all trades, but I kind of want to know, like, all of us, Maya and Brianna, what do you think about that thing? And then also a lot of business and like strategists tell us, like, if you want to be in a certain business or you want to be a content creator, you have to niche down. Like people need to know that you are one thing. So you kind of become like this specialist in that one thing. So I kind of want to know, like, what do you guys think about that? Is that true? Is that how you started out, Bri? So I'll just start with that.
Okay, so I think that even from when I was younger, when it came to like extracurriculars, I tried everything. Like I really felt like it was important to kind of dip my toe and see what it actually is that I love to do. Because a lot of times people stick to one thing and you don't know that you have a random talent or you're good at something else. So, and I actually just learned that was a full phrase. Carmen, I actually think I heard it on TikTok and I was like, that's so crazy because it makes sense. But I feel like you don't need to niche down all the time. I think it depends on the industry, one, but I feel like, especially in the influencer world, the people who are just like naturally themselves and like you can tell that they're super passionate about what they do, those are the people that are successful. Like you can niche down as much as you want, but if you don't have the connection with your audience and you don't appear as a real person who has a real interest and real variety, then people aren't going to mess with you. So I feel like you have to branch out at some point. And if you stick to one thing and you're amazing at that, good for you. But me personally, I want to spend life figuring out everything that I love to do. Like what, I could be really good at glass blowing. Like that's random as hell. But like maybe one day I'll be like, ooh, let me try it and find out that I really love it. So I just feel like you have to explore to figure out what it is that you like to do. And even in like job industries. So how can I say that I don't like working a 9 to 5 if I never work a 9 to 5? Like that's just me making something up.
Right. You said that's just me making something up. I honestly feel the same way. And something that my manager at my 9 to 5 told me. So right now I basically work in people operations, which is kind of like HR for a marketing company. And that's not at all what I want to do. Like I want to actually be doing marketing. And one thing that he told me when I told him this was, you'll still want to know how to build a team. You'll still want to have the skill set of knowing how to hire people. No matter where you go, that'll be a skill set that you would need. And to me, that kind of relates back to the phrase of jack of all trades, right? Like I could bring something that I learned from something else to a different industry, to a different department in my company. Me having the skill set of knowing how to build a team and knowing how to be a leader and knowing how to train people to do what I need them to do isn't going to be a bad skill set to carry over when I actually get into operating and marketing full time. So I think I always thought the phrase jack of all trades, master of none was kind of like a loaded one because I still felt like that was better than not having any skill set at all. So the fact that I also found out that there's another part of the phrase that basically agrees with what I said. I just learned that today also.
Yeah, and I kind of want to ask a follow-up question for you, Bri. If you could, like, I guess, pick a platform, so either your personal one, your digital platform, or podcasts. Pick a platform. I've noticed that there's some platforms where you are kind of niche down. So obviously for BTB Digital, like you're only going to promote what about your business, but on your personal page, like you're a brand ambassador of multiple companies. Like you like to travel, you like to show people like places to eat or places to have fun and like the DMV. So how do you I guess when you're trying to appeal to your audience and kind of give your audience something to look forward to in your content, how do you also pitch it as you being like this jack of all trades? Like, yes, I love to show you guys these fun places and I love to like show you my life, but I also want you to know that like I have expertise in XYZ. How do you like bridge that gap?
So I think that I don't know if I actually do a great job of this, to be honest. I know that like my personal page, I treat it as such. Like it's my personal page, and who I present myself as on Instagram, like that's who I am on my personal page. I love to travel. I'm about my business, et cetera, et cetera. But on my business page, I feel like I'm just really pushing out my work. Like, I feel like my work is going to speak for itself. If you're a business owner and you need marketing, like come to me, like let's have a conversation. But I'm not really marketing to anyone outside of that. So I feel like even my personal following, and I feel like we all probably experience, like your personal following is probably a lot larger than the podcast following or like anything else you have going on, because it's like, all right, I may have 4,000 followers on my personal page, but all 4,000 of those people don't need marketing. Like they just don't, they won't. Some people have someone who already does it. So I feel like they are two separate entities. Like I'm always going to post my business page on my regular page, but if it's not for you, it's not for you. Did that answer the question? I feel like I did, but
No, that
Absolutely.
did. Yeah. I think I also get like hung up on, it's like, oh, are people really going to care about this story of me promoting the podcast or them promoting like some project that I did? And I think at the end of the day, like your personal page is for you. And if other people like that, then that's fine. But I think I always have a hard time because I'm like, why do people follow me? Or why the people that are in my following, I wonder what they are looking for when they come to my page. And I'm always worrying like, what should I post, or should I be more meaningful, or should I just do this like cute outfit? Like I'm always like, I kind of want to be more purposeful, but I also know that like it's not going to get the engagement that I want. So
Yeah. So
I'm
how do
always
you
worrying.
so following up on that though, how do you two balance that? Because at the end of the day, one thing that we always talk about on the podcast is duality, and that two things can exist at once. So like you can have a purpose and know what your purpose is and live in that purpose, but also want to look cute today. Like who's to say you got to pick one and that one thing be what your entire brand is about? So how do you balance the two? Or do you even balance the two? Because you also don't have to.
I think that I love the question because it's like you're gonna get these bikini pictures, but you about to get your headshot too. Like, like that's exactly what it is. And I just feel like it's a display of me, like me and all parts of me. Like I did feel like I was going towards that direction, especially as I like tried to get into the influencer world, and then you realize how much work that is, and it's like a lot. But you like, oh, I gotta clean up my page, like it has to be super professional. I can only post pictures that are taken by a photographer, and you get in there. And then one day I woke up and I was just like, I want to post this picture. Like it's cute to me. And then you start doing stuff that makes you happy and like really presents you as you want. Like I want to be presented as someone who can be classy, but I can be ratchet with my friends if I want to too. Like I don't want to feel restricted.
Right.
And yeah, so like you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
You're gonna get what you're gonna get. One thing that came to mind when Carmen was telling me about you. So Carmen gave me your resume, the shorter version of the intro that she gave. She gave me your resume, and I was like, damn, that's a lot. So I instantly went to your page to check out all of the businesses that you're in and or owned. And I was like, not only is this a lot, but like it's being done well. Like this shit is being done very well. So to that point, can you truly give 100% to multiple projects? Because some people may feel like you can't. Some people may feel like I only have to focus on one thing to make sure that it actually is done well. But here you are, an example of somebody doing multiple things well. So can you truly give 100% to multiple projects? And if you can't, when are the moments that you feel stretched? And how do you handle those?
Ooh. I'm gonna tell you something. I am a firm believer of sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it. Like sometimes you just gotta pull something out the air, make it happen. And that's just my truth. I will say, so for the podcast, I have two other co-hosts, and we are really a team. So all of us majored in communications. and in that realm in college, and that's where we met. So we are able to divide the workload. And then my sister and I are co-founders of the Sister Project, which is the nonprofit, and we are also able to divide the load. But then I have Be the Brand Digital, which is the marketing and graphic design, and I have my personal content, which is all me by myself. So I will say some days, like, the Sister Project might not get a post this week, and I'm just gonna have to live with that, and that's okay. Sometimes the podcast, we're in between seasons right now, so all of us are kind of taking time to work on our personal items, and our posting is not consistent. We're gonna have to work 10 times harder when we come back to get us, because Instagram,
you know how it be.
we're gonna have to work 10 times harder to get our content in front of people, but that's what we have to do for us, and what we do works. And I feel like when you're in multiple things, you have to figure out what's important. So like for the podcast, it's, you all probably know it's important and amazing to grow listeners and to have something have 10K views, but we know that our podcast is really a safe space for us. So it's not a priority for our page to hit 10K by the end of the year. So really figuring out what is important to you, excuse me. And then even with the Sister Project, like, we're making a difference in real life. So sometimes social media isn't that important to us. Like, I try as much as I can to push out content, but if I have 10 clients this week that are paying me, sometimes the content over there doesn't get done. So I feel like balancing, I do my best to give all of them 100%, but the reality is I'm one person, so they don't always get 100%. And sometimes the ball gets dropped, and sometimes you have to ask for help. But I think that you can definitely do many things well, and people won't know what you're experiencing to make it happen. Like, they'll just see what's on the outside. They see that you're having this event, they see that you're having clients, and I just feel like it's so important to just balance well, because that's really important. But then also, like, give yourself grace. You don't have to be perfect all the time. Stuff is not going to get done all the time, and sometimes the ball gets dropped, but it's about how you pick up and how you continue that matters.
Yeah, that's good. And I just, like, a follow-up thought is that that's something that I realized that I didn't do enough. Like, I often would beat myself up if I didn't, like, schedule the big fish post because we want to grow so fast, or because we just want to grow, period. But just allowing yourself to be like, okay, it's not going to get done because I'm putting my energy elsewhere, rather than thinking it's not getting done because I'm just not doing it. I think that's a super important distinction. I never even thought of that before.
And also grace, like, that word's been coming to me a lot, like, especially like her turning 24, it's come to me a lot. Like, I have to give myself more grace. Like, it's not the end of the world if something gets pushed back. Like, it's you're still going to eat, there's still a roof over your head. Like, nobody's going to come to your house and beat you up because you didn't do XYZ. Like, it's okay. And that's something I've been learning to give myself, is more grace. That, like, if you need a break, take it. If you need an extra moment on that assignment, ask. Like, everyone's human. Everyone knows that, some days are harder than others. So I'm glad you said that word, because grace is something that I've been constantly, like, trying to tell myself, that, like, it's okay. Like, you have grace. Like, it's fine. So as someone in the early 20s and a Gen Zer, I don't know if you guys know this, but we are considered the hardest working generation, but we're also a generation that's not going to be forced to work. So, like, if we don't want to work, we're not going to. And I think that also trickles down into, like, the 9 to 5. We saw a lot of millennials quit their jobs when companies were telling them to come back in person. They just rather not. And so we saw a lot of millennials quit. We saw a lot of Gen Zers just without a job. And so I kind of want to hear from both of you, like, where do you guys see the 9 to 5 culture going, especially with Gen Z entering into this new market? Or I guess from a Black woman Gen Z or two, like, where do you see the 9 to 5 culture? Do you think it stays there and we'll just, like, move away from it and be more entrepreneurial and kind of go our own path? Or do we see us flipping 9 to 5s on its head? And especially with, like, working from home and, like, having your own hours, what do we think about that?
I feel like everyone can be an entrepreneur. Like, I feel like that's the reality. Like, no shade, no tea. Like, it's just, everyone is not going to have a successful 6-figure business. as great as it would be, it's just not realistic. And I think that we can move towards shifting the 9 to 5 culture. Like, even I feel like the pandemic is helping with that. So we're seeing a lot of more hybrid positions or virtual. And I'm a virtual hybrid kind of girl. So like, I'm like, you know, the 9 to 5 is cool when it's hybrid and I'm home on Fridays. Like, I don't hate it. But at the same time, I see where people are coming from. If you don't like your job, then your 9 to 5 is going to be miserable. But you can find things that you like to do that are aligned with what you're passionate about within a 9 to 5. I feel like it's a thin line between you can't make them work and being so quick to quit. Because I feel like it's really teetering that line of like, you're just lazy. Some people are just lazy and they're like, they're using that, oh, we're millennials, we don't have to do the 9 to 5 thing, because they're lazy. Like, you don't want to work, because then you look at their businesses and they're not putting the 8 hours that they would have been at work into their business. Like, people don't realize that entrepreneurship is more hours a week than a 9 to 5. So I feel like people are going to see that it gets hard and like we'll transfer back into either back into the 9 to 5s or find some part-times or kind of just find some balance. But I definitely don't think 9 to 5s are going anywhere, to be honest. People will kind of take sabbaticals and go try to start a business or launch a business, but the reality is it's not for everyone.
That's a hot take. That's definitely a hot take. My, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I have mixed thoughts or opinions on the whole thing, I guess, because I 110% agree with Bree that not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Like for me, for example, I don't want to not that I don't want to be an entrepreneur, I don't want to be a business owner, because there is a difference. Like right now, I technically own the company I work for, and when I tell everybody who wants to own a company, this is not what you want. I mean, this is not what you want, because people think about all the fun stuff about owning your own company, which is like, I get to make my own hours. I get to go on vacation when I want to. People think that you automatically get to set your salary because it's your own company, which I guess you kind of can, but that's not really how that works if you have a governance. But there's like a downside to like owning a business, which is like the amount of people that I manage. Like if you are a leader with some type of empathy, you also think about how your business decisions affect the people that are working at your company. So like that can keep you up at night. Like all of these things are like not fun for me personally, but at the same time, I also do not want to work a 9 to 5 because I'm not the type of person that can work for somebody. Like I like being my own boss. I like that I can make my own rules. Like I like that I can do things the way that I want to do them, whether it's at work, whether it's the podcast, whether it's my own personal brand. I like being in charge of things. But I also don't know if it's 9 to 5s that people have a problem with, or the culture that's associated with having a 9 to 5. So that's the part that I'm conflicted with. Because like the reason why I didn't like working at a PR firm was because the people there treated me like trash and the company culture was trash. It wasn't because I had to be there from 9 to 5 or I had to be there 10 to 6. It was because I didn't like the people I was working for and I didn't like the company. So back to Bree's point, people like it like 9 to 5s when they like their job. Like if you hate your job and you're miserable at your job, you're not going to enjoy it. But I also don't want to act like capitalism doesn't make working terrible. Like working sucks. Like I don't so I have mixed feelings on it. I don't know, Carmen.
I have nightmares about this, y'all, because I always my dad has worked for the Washington Post for more than I've been alive, for over 25 years. And I asked him, I'm like, you wake up, and he lives out in the middle of nowhere, Maryland, and Washington Post is like Nova, Northern Virginia. And I was like, you wake up at 6 a.m., you come back home at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. for the last 25 years. And he doesn't like to take breaks. He doesn't like to take PTO or none of that. And I'm just like, I what the pandemic has done for me in that hybrid model is that like, I think it is the culture for me. Like, I don't mind my 9 to 5, I do mind the fact that like, and my job doesn't have to do this, but I do mind the fact that it's like, you have to be sitting in this desk or in this cubicle for 8 hours a day during the assigned times that we told you to like sit there. And like other countries don't do that. Like Spain has a siesta where like they're gone in the middle of the day so they could like have time with their families, or like there's like other models that we can go to. But I think it's what you were saying, Maya, is like capitalism has us enslaved to being like on and like robots for 20 plus years. And there's nothing wrong with my dad doing that. He loves his job and he loves being like productive in those 8 hours. But there's some days like I don't want to wake up and be somewhere or on at 9, and I kind of want to leave at 2 or 12. And I'll hop back on at 6 or 7 or we'll finish the project then. But I think the main thing is the culture. I think it is burning a lot of people out. And I do see Gen Z being like sticking to this hybrid model. And like the point of the work is that it gets done. It's not really the fact that like I'm doing it from 10 to 6. It's the fact that like I get it done by week's end. So
and
that's what I think.
You know what just popped in my head also? You know what? I feel like another potential reason why people may not be into 9 to 5s right now, and then we can hop off of this topic, but is the fact that I feel like lots of Gen Z wants to work for missions or values that they're aligned with, and you're not always ever going to be aligned with your company's values. Like that's one of the main reasons why I don't necessarily want to work for companies, just because I want to work for my own values. I want to set what that mission and what those values look like, and I want to work towards that on my own. I don't want to have to spend my days working towards somebody else's goals, because that's what it feels like a 9 to 5 is to me. So I'm sure other members of Gen Z probably also feel that way too.
Yeah, I also feel like though, millennials and Gen Zers will go to 9 to 5s and like will do what they have to do. But I don't think anyone is staying 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. I really think our culture is go somewhere, get what you can out of it, go somewhere else and learn, or, you know, really build up stability first before you do branch out on your own. So you can figure out what you like. And I think that's really important to say, okay, I'm going to spend a year and a half, 2 years at this company and see what in that job role I enjoy doing. So maybe my next role doesn't have anything to do with that. And I can just kind of jump from industry to industry. And internships really helped with that in college. But I think that we not staying nowhere for 25 years. I can't work at the same place for 25 years. Shout out to the people who do, because that is commitment on another level. But yeah, I think we don't have that commitment, and I think it's a good and a bad thing.
That's a whole rabbit hole, because do we even have 25 years left on this global warming planet? That's my thing. It's like at most we got what, 20 years at best if we can't get this global warming together. I can't even see 25 years from now. But yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But so with all this going on, the 9 to 5 culture, the side hustles, the businesses, what do you do to kind of center yourself? Because there are times where we get burnt out and we kind of like just need a break. So how do you say yes to yourself without quitting your other endeavors? And that's for everyone.
I feel like you have to compromise with yourself. So it's like, all right, I got 10 projects to do by the end of the week. If I can get through 4 of them today, I can go to dinner tonight. Like, I feel like you kind of have to reward yourself. Well, that's what works for me. And then I like to travel a lot. So I like to take trips, whether it's a weekend trip. It's like, all right, you got to finish all this before you go on vacation. Like, or you going to be on vacation doing flyers. So like, I feel like just kind of just really planning and really knowing what your work schedule is like. Like for me, I work best at night. My creativity comes out at night. So like during the day, I might be off chilling, like in bed, out to eat or whatever. But when I get home at night, I'm like, ooh, this would be cute. Let's work on that. So I feel like you really just have to have the balance. And then also knowing when you're getting close to burnout, so you can do that self-care and like go out and enjoy your time. But I am a avid scheduler, so like I can time myself and schedule things, and that works for me.
Yeah, I was just telling my therapist yesterday that because she was asking me how is going to grad school while also going to work while also everything else. And I was just letting her know, like, when you schedule things like that, honestly takes a lot of anxiety out of a lot of anxiety out of doing multiple things at once. Like, I know that Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, that's my 9 to 5 time. I know that after that, I have class for 2 hours. And on the days that I don't have class, those are the days that I do homework. On the days that I have nothing to do, those are the days that I'm running errands or doing big fish stuff or doing anything not related to the things that actually paying my bills or for the weekend. But I also give myself some grace. So like on the days that or the weeks that genuinely just have a lot to do, like tonight we're going out on a date, me and my boyfriend, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be with my friend that I haven't seen in a year. I know that I'm not going to get any homework done, so I know that next week is going to be a hectic week and I have to prepare for that and not complain about it because I decided to give myself grace this weekend. So it's also like just sucking it up and getting it done on the days that you really may not have set stick to a schedule, or on the days where just having a schedule just didn't work. Just not complaining and just being heads down and grinding it through sometimes, on top of trying to stick to a schedule.
That's good. That's really good. I think I have a really bad problem with scheduling things out because my thing is like I it's also been ingrained in me that like I don't get a break until it's complete. Like for like the 10 projects things, it's like ain't nothing happening until those 10 projects are done. At least that's how I've been working. And so it's come to a point now, and I've been like working through this. People with anxiety, I struggle with anxiety a lot, but people with anxiety have a hard time scheduling breaks or scheduling things in the future in general because we're so worried about the future. And so that's something that like I can't even really answer this for people sometimes because I work until I burn out, and then it's a crisis. And so that's something I'm still working on and finding a therapist for and diligently working on. But at least I'm glad that I can recognize that because my friend, my mom was like, and my friend was like, oh, let's make a trip for next year. And I'm just like, I can't think that far ahead. Like I cannot say yes to this date because it's like, what if something happens and I need to be in the States? Or like, it's really hard for me to do that when I have stuff going on right now. But if that's a problem with people listening to this podcast, recognize that people with anxiety have problems scheduling things out, and that's okay. Like just take the date, and if you got to move it, you got to move it. But that's something that I'm challenging myself to do, is take a break before the year's up, just so I can say like I took a break. So yeah, we are coming to a close with this podcast, but I cannot let you leave, Bree, without you, one, telling us about your podcast, what it's about, and then also what we can expect for this next season.
Okay. So the podcast is called It's Too Early. It's myself, Brianna Coleman, Delonda Scott, and Janelle Partman. You'll hear them known as Nelly and Lonnie on the podcast, and I'm Bree, of course. Our podcast is about adulting. So all of us straight out of college, we started this podcast, and that's what it was, really just our safe space to talk about. We trying to find jobs. Are we going to go to grad school? Are we about to start families? Like, it's really just about figuring out adulting and being a Black woman figuring out adulting. So I feel like our podcasts are very similar in the sense that like we give ourselves space to talk about just about anything that we want to, because it's really for us. And then another like comparison that I would make is Black Girl Podcast. Very similar. They're I guess they are more millennials and we're kind of more Gen Zers, but just really just wanted a space to kiki and talk about what's important to us and how life impacts us and how other people's actions affect us. So we talk about relationships, family structures, how we were raised and how we're dealing with that trauma now as adults, or how we're not dealing with that trauma. And then, so we have season 4 is coming up this November. So we'll be back around Thanksgiving. We're really excited. So we just had our 2-year anniversary in August. So we're really excited for this season. I know we're going to talk a lot about friendships this season. And then we're going to kind of just take it one episode at a time. We do have guests as well. So yeah, please listen. You can follow us on Instagram at It's Too Early PC, as in podcast, and we're everywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We on Spotify, even though I'm not on Spotify. We're on there, Anchor, Google Podcasts, we're YouTube. We actually are on YouTube as well for the visual people. And that was an adjustment as well, like being like, oh, we want to start a podcast, but people are like, well, we want to see we want to see we want to see you all get down. So yeah, I'm really excited for us to come back. That's my baby. Like, that's our fun place. Like, I feel like that's our safe space. So even if 0 people listen to us, we still gonna go record every week. You know, we're still gonna talk our talk and just be there and build our friendship, because that's really what it helps us do as well.
I never thought of it like that, but I guess, Maya, we have built our friendship through Big Fish.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Love that. Okay, well, we're so glad that you were able to take the time out of your busy schedule to have this big conversation on Big Fish. Please let us know where we can find you at.
Thank you all for having me. Like, I feel good. Like, I'm talking to y'all. Like, I mean, I know Carmen, but I've never met Maya before. So I love how natural the conversation is. I mean, you all can follow me everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at BRIM Coleman. It's Bri M Coleman. And then my business, Be the Brand Digital, is at btb.digital, at the Sister Project Inc., and at It's Too Early PC.
I'm trying to get to that. I'm trying to get to where I gotta give 10 tags before I drop off of an interview. So
it's
that
stressful.
is inspiration.
I'm like trying to make sure I'm not forgetting underscores or periods.
Literally.
Nah, you did amazing. Thank you so much, Bri, for coming on. It was amazing having you, and everybody else will see you on the next episode. Ciao, everybody.